Today I'm going to show you what's inside of this 7-speed automatic transmission from Nissan and Infiniti and how the all-wheel drive system works. Now this is the RE7 series of transmissions and they all have valve body failures and this one's no exception. This one's out of a 2015 Q50. Taking a quick look at the profile here, you can see it's pretty long. We've got the bell housing over here. The transmission guts are actually only in this section here. Back here, this whole thing is the transfer case, so let's start by taking this off next. So this is the flange that go out to the rear drive shaft to spin the rear wheels. The front wheels got a drive shaft that plugs in here, and that goes to the front differential. Around the back here, we do have our manual valve actuator, and we have a connection for the all-wheel drive system. And that's right, the computer can actually vary the torque split. It's not a mechanical system like Audi. Now before I started, I've already loosened this nut over here. Next up, I want to split this transfer case to the back here, so I'm going to start by removing all of the bolts going around. Alright, let's see if you can get this transfer case off. Just going to remove this vent hose here with my hose removal tool. There we go. Take a look at the transfer case here. These two T40s were the reason why I couldn't split the back half of this casing off. Black gear oil coming out of this thing. Okay. Got the cover to come off. Just bearing inside of there and a seal for the front prop shaft. Kind of reminds me of a truck transfer case because we've got a big old heavy duty chain. Remember, this is the input coming from the output of the transmission, and that's going to rotate like that. Most of the power is going to go to the rear wheels over here with the direct linkage, and then we've got this chain springing off to power the front wheels. However, there is a clutch inside of here, and that's the key to how this system works. Alright, there is a circlip here. The enemy of man is whoever created these snap rings. And now I can take off this ring here and take off this interesting looking oil pump. Apparently this oil pump is pressed onto the shaft. So here's the oil pump. As you can see, the gear inside of here is moving, and that's because it's an elliptical style oil pump. It's going to bring in oil from the bottom filter over here, squirt it through these two holes over here, which in turn are going to cool off that electromagnetic clutch inside. This connector's got power and ground, and then the plug can get popped through. Number 10 here. And that's for this baffle plate. Now you got a good look at that chain. You can see there's no tensioner, but that's not an issue when this is rotating. If I give this a whack. Okay, here's the chain. The little front gear went flying just now. Give it some more beating. I cut that off camera, but it did fall out of the transfer case. Right here we have the empty transfer case. You can see this is the fill plug. So that would roughly be the line where the bottom of the bearings are for all the fluid to be on the bottom half. And this is the drain plug. So here's the basis of how the all-wheel drive system works. We've got our input coming from the transmission. Output goes to the tail shafts of the back wheels. That's actually one solid piece, so there's always power flowing to the back wheels. The real question is though the torque split and how much of that power gets stolen to go to the front wheels. So here you can see we've got our chain setup that goes to the front wheels. This gear itself here is actually tied to the electromagnetic clutch on the inside here, which is electrically activated. And you can see it sits on a slip ring over here, which is pretty cool. So let's take this apart next and see how it activates that front gear. Alright, so far I got this snap ring off, which is amazing. Oh wow, that actually worked. Nice. What does that do for us? Ooh, we can take apart this electromagnetic clutch. So there's a spacer here. Looks like the electromagnet has a bunch of... Oh no, all the parts went flying. So taking a look at how this all-wheel drive system works, if I pull this apart, you'll see we've got the giant electromagnet. Now on the back here, we've got the wire that stays stationary, and that allows this barrel to rotate with the transmission with the splines on the inside here. Now when that electromagnet activates, it's going to create a displacement pushing it out this way. Now just like in construction, when you get scared, you subcontract someone else out. And in this case, that electromagnet does not directly activate this clutch. Instead, it activates this smaller set of clutches made of only 4 bands and discs. Just like when you were a teenager, there was a lot of thrusting force, and that's why you need this thrust bearing which sat over here. Once you take that off, you'll see we've got this gear. Now this gear is externally splined, and that cogs into the threads of the smaller clutch over here. And if you flip that over, you can see we have a little ball ramp system. Now the next piece over here actually splines to the front wheel clutch, and that also has these little divots on them where the balls can sit inside. Now if you take these two and you match them up together, well, they're going to sit like that, with the balls being at the most deepest position in this little divot. Now as that electromagnetic clutch activates, it's going to push up on this ball ramp system and cause this thickness to increase. You can see as I rotate it here, it's becoming larger and larger, and that's what's going to carry even more force multiplied over to the main clutch. Now that's going to be pressing up on these friction plates, and if I take these off here, you can see it's just a standard transmission style plates. Now the clutch plates are quite used. You can see they are a little bit darker in the friction areas here. They should be brown like this. The steels look in good shape. You'll notice that the steels are splined to the outside while the friction discs are splined to the inside. Now as you'll notice, you've got internal splines over here and external splines driving the front wheels. And as you'll notice, you've got the internal splines over here on the shaft and the external splines on the front wheels. And when this clutch is locked up, that's going to lock those internal splines over here to the external splines over here, which goes on the housing of the electromagnetic clutch, and you're now going to lock the front and rear wheels together for an even 50-50 torque split because they're all turning at the same rate. Now remember, this clutch is always spinning in fluid and has the chance to slip, and that's great because in case your front wheels and your rear wheels need to turn at different speeds, like say you're taking a corner or something, or one of the wheel sets start to slip, well, that clutch slip is going to take up that and you won't have binding between the two. However, in general, this clutch isn't going to wear that much because your front and your rear wheels are basically turning at the same speed, unless if you got different tire sizes or you're doing burnouts, which is probably typical of Q50 owners, to be honest. And yeah, I do notice that the electromagnetic side of this clutch is quite black. Now remember, that's an electromagnetic clutch, which means that you can vary the amount of power going to it and thus the displacement that this clutch locks up at. So if you don't lock it up enough, you can probably have a 70-30 rear to front torque distribution, or if you lock it up all the way, you'll have 50-50. However, if you unlock it completely, you technically have rear wheel drive only, and that'll put you in drift mode. But as I said, if you're drifting, you're going to have a large wheel speed difference, and because there's no dedicated center differential on this all-wheel drive system, you're going to start burning out this clutch. And that's the essence of the all-wheel drive system. It's basically a giant electromagnet that applies a clutch when required to give you that all-wheel drive setup. I still like this system because it's always spinning those rear wheels. There's no disconnect, there's no center differential. Next up, I'm going to work on removing this tail housing here. Alright, we're inside the transmission already. Looks like we got the parking pole over here. Alright, I'm going to remove this bell housing next. There's a lot of 14s going all the way around. Pull off this bell housing, and that makes this transmission look so much smaller already. By the way, the old 7-speeds used to have a dipstick. This one, they've actually covered it. Typical of Nissan, where they just put a cover on it and the dipstick is optional. Here's the cover they use to cover the dipstick hole, just part of manufacturer's techniques to keep you out of the transmission so you can get a new car in a few years. I'll get the valve body off next. I'm going to remove all the 10mm bolts. Luckily they're still using a steel pan on this. We live in Canada, things get rusty. That's why you always need your grandpa's toothbrush to clean these things up before they get stuck and stripped. Alright, ready for some mess. Oh, that's a lot of mess. Alrighty, take a look inside. And here's a look inside of the pan of this R07 transmission. So that's the drain plug, and this is the fluid check port. So this is the level at which the transmission fluid has to be at the optimal temperature. Taking a look at those magnets though, geez, they're full of a lot of metal. This wasn't really a high mileage engine, but some metal is normal. Let's get the filter off of this valve body next. Wow, the filter is actually pretty clean. A little bit of dust over here, but nothing clogging it. Also, you can see right through this filter. It's no thinner than a piece of paper. I mean, what was that filter filtering? It's just this area here, but there's, besides this, no real inlet. Why did it need such a big area? Okay, let's remove the valve body next. Okay, it looks like I'm going to remove them all then. Get off the manual valve there. Electrical connection. Pop that out. There is the TCM, which controls the brains of this transmission that they always say goes bad. So we'll take a look at this later. Now the transmission fluid in here is definitely well used, but I wouldn't say it's burnt up completely. So we're here to pop that pump out. So see what we got. Now, this is the stator for the torque converter. On the back side here we do have a clutch. I'm pretty sure inside of here we also have the transmission pump, just driven off the input shaft coming from the engine. Looks like we got a giant clutch that belonged to the first piece. Okay, we got two sun gears here on a carrier. The whole input shaft comes out. Let's see if we can take out more stuff. Next up we have a Planetary on the other side. And we've got some sun gears coming along here, probably for a second Planetary gear set. So pushing that, our output shaft from the back came out. That's great. We got another set of clutches in here. I'm recording, right? Maybe another set of clutches out of there. Okay, this one looks a little used. This is a return piston spring. Now this style of snapping that goes into the housing is a bit difficult because it also has teeth on the inside. So if you guys know how to take this out, let me know. The only thing left down there really is just a piston with a clutch set to activate it, so I'm not going to bother removing it. That's pretty much the casing of the transmission. Now the transmission casing, you can see you've got some holes here that are going to send pressurized fluid from that valve body that's sat here straight into the pistons, just like this one at the bottom here, to activate those clutches and lock up certain Planetary gear sets. Now taking a look at the internals of this transmission, starting at the output side, you can see you've got this gear here that has the teeth for the parking pole that's going to lock on there, but it does double duty because it's also being picked up by the output speed sensor. So that little tooth there is the only thing keeping your vehicle in place from rolling away when you're in park. Along this shaft, you're also going to notice a bunch of holes, and that's because it's going to send fluid and receive fluid to different pistons to lock up various clutches. Here's the clutch backs that came out at the back most. You can see these are in okay shape. You got the steel bands and the friction discs. And then here we have this pack that's inside of this other pack. So let's take that apart real quick. Pull this out. Ooh, this one's burned on this side. Look at that. You can see all the hot spots over here. That's pretty bad. And the clutch material is actually quite burnt up. It's supposed to be nice and brown like this. And the thing is, if you look on this side, yeah, it's the same thing. Lots of hot spotting on the steels. And this here is the piston that would fire out in order to activate it. See if you can take out the bands around it. And the whole thing comes out. That's nice. This is the other piston, so you've got a piston within a piston over here. And they're going to draw their fluid from these little holes here, from those holes we saw in the shaft. Let's check these clutches over here. Alright, this clutch is dark, but it doesn't have burn spots like that other one. Alright, next up we're coming to some more mechanical bits here. We have two sun gears, and we have a planet carrier on this side. And we've got a planet carrier inside of a ring gear on this side. So this piece is actually shared between the two. Here's a good example of a one-way clutch. You can see this gear is allowed to spin in this direction, but it carries torque in this direction. It just free spins, kind of like the back wheel on your bicycle. Finally bent this thing out of here. So much work. Just so I can pull off this cog. Oh damn it, there's another snap ring. So if I pop off this sun gear here, you can look at the internals, you'll see that there's all these little cylinders. And if you look closely at these, they kind of look like roller bearings, but they're not. See, as I move my finger this way, they move nice and smooth, but as I push this way, they kind of raise up and they provide resistance. And now if all of them provide resistance, they kind of clamp onto that shaft, and that's how it locks in that one direction. Alright, moving on. Let's see the rest of this assembly here. Let's pull this out. From the front, we have two sun gears as well. And then we have, this is a planet carrier. You can see the little planets inside of there. And this whole thing carries torque. Now this just splines to the inputs, so there's no clutch set on that. So let's keep going. Here of course is the input shaft that comes from the engine. Alright, back on this big barrel here. I'm going to stick my screwdrivers in here. See if I can remove the snap ring. And then this thing will come out. Kind of a complicated transmission so far, to be honest. Let's pull this out. The ring gear from this cage here. Got another Planetary gear set. I got another ring gear for that planet carrier. And our input shaft basically spins this ring gear, so this would be the first Planetary gear set. There's one more clutch here. Let's take a look at the condition. There's the piston. Very simple. There's a clutch, and oh boy. Yeah, this one looks a bit worn as well. We'll take a look inside of here. Now if you remember, this one had the one-way clutch. This is the large one-way clutch that was in front of the transmission, and you can see if you're rolling in one direction, things are rolling fine. You've got those little rollers, but if you look closely, we have these springs. Now if you're rolling in the opposite direction, the roller kind of moves back and pushes in against the inner diameter against that spring, and that's where you kind of meet that resistance going in the opposite direction. Now if you multiply that by a dozen rollers, then you're going to be able to transmit torque in that direction and freewheel in this direction. Pretty cool return spring. And we have another set of snap rings. Take a look at these clutches. Clutches are a little bit rough. You can see there's burn spots on them, which means that it was heating up. It's pretty dark. Yeah, you can see the burn spots on them. This transmission was about to go. I mean, rightfully so, that's why I got it. Got one more snap ring off there, and I can pull off this return spring. It looks like a piston. The way this works is we got fluid in, fluid out, and it's going to be squeezed in between here to provide fluid flow to the valve body so we can redirect it to those clutches. The pump housing, on the other hand, has definitely seen better days. It's kind of scored up. Now the way an automatic transmission works is by Planetary gear sets. Now you have to hold one of them stationary One will be your input and one will be your output. So for example, if this ring gear is held stationary and I move my planet carrier, you'll see that the sun gear is spinning pretty fast. Vice versa, if I use my input as the sun gear, you'll see that the planet carrier is moving slow for a reduction gear. I can also make use of the sun gear and turn it, and you can see that my planet carrier is moving slightly slower, or vice versa, I move the planet carrier and the barrel is moving slightly faster. I can also hold my planet carrier, and as I rotate the ring gear, you'll see that the sun gear moves in reverse. Now, there's a total of 3 planetary gear sets in this transmission, and that gives you a 7-speed automatic transmission. Obviously, there's other combinations that don't make sense, like 3 reverses. Now, these transmissions were not known to be the most reliable. I'm going to take a look at the valve body, which is honestly the most failure-prone part. A lot of people say it's really actually the module itself. Some people say it's the speed sensor. And in this case, it looks more like the transmission's clutches. Now inside of here, we have brains of the transmission, which are actually going to take electrical power and command these solenoids here to turn on and off, which are going to redirect fluid flow to turn on and off clutches. These look like fluid level temperature sensors, I'd say. Now inside of here is the transmission control module. It's going to communicate with the CAN bus to the engine and tell you when to shift by redirecting the fluid flow through these solenoids. So if I can remove this here, that would be great. Here's the transmission control module. And there's a bunch of solenoids that's attached to it. At least you can change these out separately. It's not all part of one unit. These are basically little solenoids that are going to plunge back and forth. And that's going to move a spool valve inside of here, which is going to redirect the fluid flow. I think violence is the key to learning. Now very clearly there is a chip inside of here, and you can see there's inputs and outputs. These IOs are either going to go back to the powertrain control module or feed the solenoids and sensors. This is the manual valve that moves in and out the valve body. That's controlled with your gear selector on the dashboard to the side of the transmission. So it knows which clutches to unlock, so make sure you're not driving while you're parking. Now it's time to add a couple more 10mm bolts to my collection. Okay, so this module here is actually the park neutral switch. And it's going to tell the computer, which hooks up here, which gear you're in. Alright, let's open this up. Wouldn't be surprised if check balls fall out. There's a lot of these little check balls as well as filters inside of this. And as you can imagine, the solenoids that were attached here are eventually going to make it to these spool valves, which you can see are casted through here, through this hydraulic maze. Don't worry, I'm sure a computer designed all this. I wouldn't imagine somebody nowadays sitting down thinking all this through just to make it so compact. And that's a look at how the all-wheel drive system works and a teardown on the R07 Infiniti Q50 transmission. It was great tearing this thing down, except there's way too many snap rings for me. And it's good to find that there's other failure modes other than the notorious valve body. Make sure you subscribe if you want to see more videos just like this one.